Who else? I got people. I got people in my life that and they could hear this message. It would benefit them. It would help them. They could benefit from this the same as I have. And I want them to hear this message. And so they went to their family. Imagine they went to their family first. Mom, dad, brother, sister, son, daughter. And they said, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear this. This is wonderful. This is amazing. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. I was lost and now I'm found. I was dead and I'm alive. And I want you to experience that too. So they brought those people. They went to their friends, their co-workers, their fellow students. They went to everybody they knew and they brought them. Anybody that would come, they would bring them and they would hear the gospel. And the gospel was heard and accepted and obeyed. The church grew as a result of that. That's the concept of friendship evangelism. You ever heard of friendship evangelism? That's what evangelism is all about. I want you to think about Cornelius. Cornelius, what motivated him? What was the thought that he had in his head? You know, go send him to Joppa and bring Peter back here, and in 4 days, it took him 4 days to get there and get back. And Cornelius is thinking, can't wait. He was excited. He was excited to hear the gospel. It didn't fade over those 4 days that he had to wait. He was so excited that he thought, I don't have to do this alone. Who can I invite to come to hear this message with me? Oh, I got to get my mother. I got to get my father. I got to get my children to come. I got friends. I'll invite my friends to come. And we'll all hear the gospel message together. We'll all hear this good news, whatever this good news is. Well, it's not hard to figure out what motivated Cornelius to do this. He was about to hear some good news. A message from God. And there's Peter. Think about what motivated Peter. Peter was God's evangelist. Peter was God's ambassador. And God had chosen Peter to deliver his message. And so Peter was, I suppose Peter had the option to refuse. Do you think Peter had the option to refuse? What if Peter had refused? What if Peter had said, okay, God, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to these Gentiles. Sounds a lot like Jonah. Right? Jonah. Go to Nineveh, that great city, and tell them, give them my message. And Jonah ran away, as far as he could get away, as quickly as he could get away. Peter obligated to, Peter had the option to refuse. Well, he didn't refuse. Was it hard? Sure, it was going to be hard. This was going to be a hard one. But Peter was God's messenger. He wasn't God. He was God's messenger. And so he goes, what would have happened? What would have happened if Peter had rejected and not gone to share the gospel with Cornelius? Exactly what was at stake? What was at stake here? Well, I'm going to tell you this. I think this is probably the most important thing that I have to say. There was a lot at stake. Salvation is what is at stake here. Cornelius needed to hear the gospel. God had chosen him to hear the gospel, and he had sent Peter to preach the gospel. If Peter had refused, he probably would have sent somebody else. But Peter didn't refuse. But if he had, and if Cornelius had not heard the gospel, then certainly Cornelius might not nobody might not have ever heard the gospel. Not only that, but the people that he invited, they wouldn't have heard the gospel. Not only that, he was the first Gentile, uncircumcised Gentile. And what if Peter had refused? What would that have done to the Gentiles? And if the Gentiles had never heard the gospel, where would we be today? You see? Everybody's got a part in this. This is how important it is. This is what is at stake. The question that I think we need to ask ourselves is, what does God expect of me? What about me? Why preach a sermon if you're not going to get personal? You're not going to talk about how this affects you and me. What does God expect of us? What does he expect of me? Well, I think he expects us to become all things to all men. And I want you to understand what I think that means. Look over there at 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Let me go ahead and read this real quickly, and we'll talk about it. Starting at verse 19. 1 Corinthians 9. The Apostle Paul. Though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win the more. And to the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might win the Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law. To those who are without law, as without law, not being without law toward God, but under the law toward Christ, that I might win those who are without law. To the weak I became as weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Verse 23. Now this I do for the gospel's sake, that I may be partaker of it with you. Okay, Paul says, I've become all things to all men. I'm not weak, but I'll become weak to win the weak. Mm-hmm. I'm not without law, but I'll become whatever I have to become to save those who are without the law. I'll save the Gentiles. I'll save the Jews. I'll save anybody. I'll do whatever I have to do. I will become all things to all men. I will become nothing to myself. I will deny myself so that I can save you if possible. What motivated Paul? I do this for the gospel's sake, that I may be a partaker of it with you. See, Paul was under the impression that in order for him to go to heaven, he had to preach the gospel. He says it in this chapter, woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. Paul believed that his salvation was connected to evangelism. His own salvation was connected to the salvation of those that needed to hear the gospel. Well, that elevates the stakes, doesn't it? That makes it a little more important for me personally. The Great Commission is our commission. As Ivan Stewart said it, go ye means go me. The Great Commission. I want you to look here at Mark chapter 16, verse 15. I put it on the screen for you so you can see it. Go into all the world and preach the gospel. Preach the gospel. Evangelion. That's your word. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. He who believes and is baptized shall be saved. He who has not believed or has disbelieved shall be condemned. He says to his apostles, 11 apostles, he says, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. All the world, all creation. Go out there and you look for somebody and somebody that's out there, anybody that's out there, doesn't matter who it is, and you preach the gospel to them. If they believe and are baptized, they'll be saved. If they don't believe, they'll be condemned. What's at stake? That's what's at stake. So he says, go into the whole world and do this. So what he has done effectively is he's done this. You therefore, my son, this is Paul's version of the commission. This is what he says to do, okay? You therefore, my son, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. You therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. The things which you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. So the principle here is one of continuity. Continuity. That's continuity. Continuity. So the idea here is, I've got the message. I'm going to share the message with you. My part is to share the message with you. So once you get the message, then your part is to share the message with somebody else, your family, your friend, the stranger on the street. So I have the message, I share it. You get the message, you share it. When they get the message, they share it. You deliver the message, present the message to faithful witnesses, faithful men who will be able to teach others also. See that perpetual motion of sharing the good news. So let's follow that to its logical conclusion. I think this is it. So we share the gospel with others. They are able to share the gospel with others, and it continues on and it continues on. That generation comes and goes, and the next generation picks it up. Somebody teaches them, and they're able to teach others also. Then that generation has the gospel, and they go on and they share the gospel. And as they're sharing the gospel, they go on till the next generation comes along, and they pick it up, they hear it, and they are able to teach others also, and it just keeps on going, and on and on and on throughout the generations. Until it comes to the generation that says, I'm not going to share this message. So until it comes to a generation that says, it stops here. What would happen? What would happen if one generation of Christians stopped the perpetual motion of the gospel from being shared? What are the implications of that? What if it just peters out? And it's not preached anymore. What happens in the world when one generation stops? But it hasn't yet. It hasn't yet. It's kept going from the Apostle Peter and all the other apostles on the day of Pentecost. All message that I delivered to you, you take it and you deliver to faithful men who will be able to teach others also, and they've taught others, and they've taught all others, and it's come down to generation, from generation to generation, and it's come to our generation. And now it's our turn. It's our turn to deliver the message, to take the message and pass it on to the next generation. What are we doing with it? What are you doing with it? God has called you to be a worldwide ambassador. An ambassador. You know what an ambassador is? And it's an honor. It's a great honor to be appointed as an ambassador. This is how it works in government. Any government. Let's talk about our government. The President of the United States chooses an ambassador to a foreign country. And the ambassador is his emissary. So he goes to a foreign dignitary, a foreign president or king or whatever. And when the president wants to deliver a message he calls his ambassador and he gives him the message. I want you to tell the dignitary this is what the president wants. And on behalf of the president, his ambassador delivers the message. Okay? He's the ambassador of the president. Does he have the option to say, I'm not delivering that message? What do you think happens to the ambassador that refuses to deliver the message? What does that mean to me? Well, it means this. We are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were making an appeal through us. What is the appeal? It's this. We beg you, on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. We are God's worldwide ambassador. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And now he sent us out. The gospel message is our message. The Great Commission is our commission. Go ye means go me and you. And it's our turn to do it. And we'll do it. Because that's who we are. What happens? What happens if we don't? What happens if you don't? Are you familiar with the concept of the watchman? Ezekiel chapter 33. Really quick now. Verse 1. Ezekiel 33. Just listen to this. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people, and say to them, when I bring the sword upon a land, and the people of the land take a man from their territory and make him their watchman, when he sees the sword coming upon the land, if he blows the trumpet and warns the people, then whoever hears the sound of the trumpet and does not take warning, if the sword comes and takes him away, his blood shall be on his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but he did not take warning. His blood shall be upon himself, but he who takes warning will save his life. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, and the people are not warned, and the sword comes and takes any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. See, that's what Paul said, wasn't it? He said, I do this for the gospel's sake, that I may be a partaker of it with you. Paul knew what was at stake for him as the evangelist, as the ambassador, as the watchman. The Jews rejected the message. Paul said, your blood be upon your own head. I am clean. I go from now on to the Gentiles. Acts chapter 18. He was referencing the watchman. The little watchman parable. That's what's at stake for us. So what is at stake? What is at stake for us? Salvation. There's somebody that you know. Somebody that you know that needs to hear the gospel. Desperately needs to hear the gospel. You want them to hear the gospel. You want them to be saved. You want to sit beside them and worship and feel good about them being Christians. You got a brother or a sister or a mother or an aunt, a co-worker, a friend, a best friend. And you think, man, wouldn't it be normal? Wouldn't it be amazing if they obeyed the gospel? And now you're Christ's ambassador. You've got the message. You know the message. If you know somebody that can share the message better than you, maybe you can can bring them, you can get the message, the messenger and the recipient together. You can bring them together. You can be the go-between. You can be part of the evangelistic process.
That's one.
What happens if you don't? What happens if you don't do it? They don't hear the gospel. Maybe they never get around to hearing the gospel. Maybe they never hear it and they die before they hear it. They're lost. Maybe the soul that you save is your own. Maybe God holds their blood on your head because you had the message and you didn't share it. I don't want to, I know that's a negative note to anyone. That's what's at stake. That's where we are. How important is evangelism? It's more important than most anything else that we do. If that's not your gift, it is, maybe you've never tried. All I know is there's a lot at stake here. God has called your name. He said, I want you to go. I want you to go. I want you to find the lost. Bring them to me. There's somebody here tonight that needs to hear this, that is needing to hear this message. Maybe there's somebody right now here in this very room that is a prospect for evangelism. Maybe you've been putting it on. Or maybe you're new to all of this and you think, I know what I need to do. I'm not quite ready to do it. Don't you want to hear this message? What happens? What happens if you leave here tonight and you have had an opportunity, but you waited? I wouldn't want your blood to be on my head. I want you to know that this message is for you tonight. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all experience someone in Christ? And I know there's somebody here tonight who needs to make that decision. It's up to you. You know what you need to do. If you don't know what you need to do, then come talk to me. I'll help you as best I can to understand. Talk to somebody. There's no reason for you to go any further without taking this step. So if you're here this evening and you need to be baptized into Christ for the forgiveness of your sins, or if you're here and you need prayer from your brothers and sisters in Christ, you have an opportunity. You have a message